So I'm here to read you a story. So the story is about a series I like. It's by Lemony Snicket. I don't know if you can guess what it is. It's called A Series of Unfortunate Events, and is called, the first book in the series is 13 books total. The first book is called The Bad Beginning. So I'm just going to read you chapter 1, and let me know if you want to hear more. Let's begin. If you are interested in stories with happy ending, you would be better off reading some other book. In this book, not only is there no happy ending, there's no happy beginning, and very few things in the middle. This is because not very many happy things happen in the lives of the three Baudelaire children. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny Baudelaire were intelligent children, and they were charming and resourceful and had pleasant facial features. But they were extremely unlucky, and most everything that happened to them was rife with misfortune, misery, and despair. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that's how the story goes. Let's go to the next page. Their misfortune began one day at Breeny Beach. The three Baudelaire children lived with their parents in this enormous mansion in the heart of dirty and busy street. Interesting. And occasionally their parents gave them permission to take a rickety, it does say rickety, trolley. The word rickety, you probably means unsteady. Yes, very unsteady. Or likely to collapse. Yes. Bad parents. Give your kids a rickety trolley to ride on. That's like talking about like injury is coming. Okay. It means unsteady or likely to collapse. Exactly. Alone to the seashore where they would spend a day as a sort of vacation as long as they were home for dinner. Yeah, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. No, sorry, 80s and 90s. Yeah, you pretty much left home from the beginning of the day. You got home just before the lights came on. Yeah, you roamed the streets all day. Starving to death. You drinking from like hoses. Yeah, I'm a Gen X. Yeah. We raised ourselves practically. We fed ourselves in the kitchen because parents couldn't be bothered to feed you. This is giving me PTSD. Anyway, let's continue the book. It's not about me. It's about the book. Okay, where are we? As long as they were home for dinner. This particular morning it was gray and cloudy, which didn't bother the Baudelaire, that name. I don't know why Lemony named him Baudelaire. Youngsters one bit. When it was hot and sunny, Breeny Beach was crowded with tourists, and it was impossible to find a good place to lay one's blanket. On gray and cloudy days, the Baudelaires had the beach to themselves to do what they liked. Violet Baudelaire, the eldest, liked to skip rocks. Like most 14-year-olds, she was right-handed, so the rock skipped farther across the murky water when Violet used her right hand. Then when she used her left, as she skipped rocks, she was looking out at the horizon and thinking about an invention she wanted to build. Anyone who knew Violet well could tell she was thinking hard because her long hair was tied up in a ribbon to keep it out of her eyes. Violet had a real knack for inventing and building strange devices. Her brain was often filled with images of pulleys, levers, and gears, and she never wanted to be distracted by something as trivial as her hair. This morning she was thinking about how to construct a device that could retrieve a rock from after it had skipped into the ocean. Interesting. Klaus Baudelaire, the middle child and the only boy, liked to examine creatures in tide pools. Klaus was a little older than 12 and wore glasses which made him look intelligent. Hey. Just because you wear glasses, you don't need to. It's not about me, it's about the book. Where was I? Which made him look intelligent. He was intelligent, exactly. You don't need glasses to look intelligent. The Baudelaire parents had an enormous library in their mansion, a room filled with thousands of books on nearly every subject. Being only 12, Klaus, of course, had not read all of the books in the Baudelaire library, but he had read a great many of them, and he had retained a lot of the information from his reading. He knew how to tell an alligator from a crocodile. I don't even know how to do that. remember which one is which. I have to remember. Oh my God, my brain, Gen X brain. I have to remember. The crocodile hunted and was like, oh, crocodiles. You know where he's from, and then in Florida, when it was alligators. Yeah, I have to like remember that because I can't tell those things apart. I just know that I'm afraid of both of them, and they both can eat you, and they both can climb fences. They can climb fences. That was terrifying to find out. They can climb fences. Anyway, and run like hell on land. Not only are they fast in the water, they're fast on land. Like, seriously, who made these things? Like, God, why? Why? Anyway, back to the book. Tell an alligator from a crocodile. He knew who killed Julius Caesar. I think we know that too. And he knew much about the tiny, slimy animals found at Brittany Beach, which he was examining now. Sonny Baudelaire, the youngest, liked to bite things. She was an infant and very small for her size. No, sorry, very small for her age, scarcely larger than a boot. What she lacked in size, however, she made up for with the size and sharpness of her forked teeth. So she has 4 teeth. Okay. Sonny was at an age where one mostly speaks in a series of unintelligible shrieks, except when she used a few actual words in her vocabulary, like bottle, mommy, bite. Most people had trouble understanding what it was that Sonny was saying. For instance, this morning she was saying guk over and over, which probably meant, look at that mysterious figure emerging from the fog. Sure enough, in the distance along the misty shore of Brittany Beach, there could be seen a tall figure striding towards the Baudelaire children. Sonny had already been staring and shrieking at the figure for some time, when Klaus looked up from the spiny crab he was examining and saw it too. He reached over and touched Violet's arm, bringing her out of her inventing thoughts. Look at that, Klaus said, and pointing towards the figure. It was drawing closer, and the children could see a few details. It was about the size of an adult, except its head was tall and rather square. What do you think it is? Violet asked. I don't know, Klaus said, squinting at it. But it seems to be moving right towards us. We're alone on the beach, Violet said, a little nervously. There's nobody else it could be moving towards. She felt the slender, smooth stone in her left hand, which she had been about to try to skip as far as she could. She had a sudden thought to throw it at the figure before it seemed so frightening. Because it seemed so frightening, sorry. It only seems scary, Klaus said, as if reading his sister's thought, because of all the mist. This was true. As the figure reached them, the children saw with relief that it was not anybody frightening at all, but somebody they knew, Mr. Poe. Mr. Poe was a friend of Mr. and Mrs. Baudelaire's, whom the children had met many times at dinner parties. One of the things Violet, Klaus, and Sonny really liked about their parents was that they didn't send their children away when they had company over, but allowed them to join the adults at the dinner table and participate in the conversation as long as they helped clear the table. That's nice. The children remember Mr. Poe because he always had a cold and was constantly excusing himself from the table to have a fit of coughing in the next room. Mr. Poe took off his top hat, which he had made his hand look, which he had. Mr. Poe took off his top hat, which he had made his head look large and square in the fog, and stood for a moment coughing loudly into a white handkerchief. Violet and Klaus moved further to shake his head. Violet and Klaus moved forward to shake his hand and say, How do you do? How do you do? Said Violet. How do you do? Said Klaus. How do you? Said Sonny. Fine, thank you, said Mr. Poe, but he looked very sad. For a few seconds nobody said anything, and the children wondered what Mr. Poe was doing there at Brittany Beach. when he should have been at the bank in a city where he worked. He was not dressed for the beach. It's a nice day, Violet said finally, making conversation. Sunny made a noise that sounded like an angry bird. And Klaus picked her up and held her. Yes, it is a nice day, Mr. Poe said, absently, staring at the empty beach. I'm afraid I have some very bad news for you children. And here comes the bad news. Again, a series of unfortunate events. Let's continue. The three Baudelaire siblings looked at him. Violet, with some embarrassment, felt the stone in her left hand and was glad she had not thrown it at Mr. Poe. She would have been throwing it at someone she knows. Your parents, Mr. Poe said, have perished in a terrible fire. Seriously? That's how he breaks the news to them? The children didn't say anything. They perished, Mr. Poe said, in a fire that destroyed the entire house. I'm very, very sorry to tell you this, my dears. Violet took her eyes off Mr. Poe and stared out at the ocean. Mr. Poe had never called the Baudelaire children my dears before. She understood the words he was saying, but thought he must be joking, playing a terrible joke on her and her brother and sister. Perished, Mr. Poe said, means killed. We know what the word perished means, Klaus said crossly. He didn't know that. He didn't know what the word perish meant, but he was still having trouble understanding exactly what it was that Mr. Poe had said. It seemed to him that Mr. Poe must somehow have misspoken. The fire department arrived, of course, Mr. Poe said, but they were too late. The entire house was engulfed in fire. It burned to the ground. Klaus pictured all the books in the library going up in flames. How he never read? All of them. Mr. Poe coughed several times into his handkerchief before continuing. I was sent to retrieve you here and to take you to my house, where you stay for some time while we figure things out. I'm the executor of your parents' estate. That means I will be handling their enormous fortune and figuring out where you children will go. When Violet comes of age, the fortune will be yours, but the bank will take charge of it until you're old enough. Although he said he was the executor, Violet felt like Mr. Poe was the executioner. He had simply walked down the beach to them and changed their lives forever. Come with me, Mr. Poe said, and held out his hand in order to take it. Violet had to drop the stone she was holding. Klaus took Violet's other hand, and Sunny took Klaus' other hand. And in that manner, the three Baudelaire children, the Baudelaire orphan now, were led away from the beach and from their previous lives on Brittany Beach. Oh, so sad. That was chapter 1. Let me know if you need to hear chapter 2. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Sorry about my bracelet clinking. I gotta learn to not move around too much. But I hope you enjoy, and let me know if you want to hear some more. Bye.